The prince flung himself to the ground and suddenly realized that his brother was dragging a long tail. Even his stepmother had the same tail under her dress. He wanted to tell his father, but the king was under the control of the queen. The prince knew it was over, his stepmother's secret was out. She would never let him go. So the queen blew out a breath of green air. The prince's body began to grow smaller. He couldn't even hold a wooden sword. With the invasion of the green breath, the prince turned into a nutcracker. Then he was kicked out of the window by his brother. Since then, the country has been controlled by a group of mice, and the Nutcracker floated away down a stream. Years later, the former Nutcracker was acquired by Rhett, a pawnbroker. He fell in love with Mary, a dancer, and expressed his love for her. But Mary resented him. In order to get Mary, Rhett blackmailed her into marrying him with a huge debt owed by her late father. On his way out, he gave Mary the Nutcracker he was holding as a token of his love. He asked her to give him an answer as soon as possible. When Mary returned to her room, she threw the Nutcracker aside in anger. She looked at the family portrait and wished she could go back to her childhood and play with those dolls. But to her surprise, her wish came true. A shooting star suddenly flew and turned into a golden light that surrounded Mary. When she opened her eyes again, she realized that she had become a miniature person. She panicked and ran to the front door, calling out for her mother. But she thought it was a mouse. She was going to buy a kitten to catch them, but Mary's small size meant that she didn't have to get married. But all kinds of dangers come with it. The smallest object could kill her in minutes. She's just escaped a nail stabbing, and then the makeup box fell. The dust that rose from it swallowed her up in an instant. In the mist, she saw a big rat, with a fierce look that was very frightening. Mary fell to the ground and retreated. As the rat pushed her closer, she raised a pin and fought back, but the rat snatched it away. In a moment of danger, the prince came to her rescue with his sword. He had no fear of the rat, but the rat has the advantage of size. The rat's superiority in size not only knocked the prince off his feet, but also knocked his sword out of his hand. When he fell to the ground, the rat turned to Mary. But when he opened his mouth, he didn't bite. The prince was holding on to his tail. The rat was so angry that he threw him to the ground and held him down with his claws. Then he opened his mouth and tried to eat the prince. But then a sheep came along, and it knocked the mouse off his feet. The mouse got up and tried to deal with the sheep, but was hit by a sudden fireball. It turned out to be Santa Claus firing magic balls. The mouse was scared by the fireballs and fled towards the hole. Mary was puzzled by the dolls. Santa explained that it was Christmas Eve. It's your wish that brought these dolls to life. Mary was happy to see her childhood dolls, but then she got sad. She didn't want to be a little person for the rest of her life.